Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. As I think you can see, we out here playing a road game this week. This is our first actual Right Time road game, but we're playing it. It's all good. So I'm in this hotel, right? Trying to get ready for this show. And again, the NFL be stepping on this dope, right? And since they stepping on the dope don't hit like it used to. All I'm saying is once you got bye weeks and you got London games and you got Thursday games and you got this Monday night doubleheader that I swear nobody asked for, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes we be looking at the slate like, I don't really know exactly how we gonna make this work, right? But we gonna do that because we love you, okay? So what the Jaguars got their asses kicked first thing in the morning. They got tally-hoed the fuck up out of London. You know, I don't even know if it was in London. I just know if they wasn't in London, they might be in there right now the way they got their asses kicked. But I guess London like their other home. By the way, Ryan, is there any two homes that could be more divergent than London and Jacksonville? Can you think of any two places that have less in common?
It depends on the part of London. That's the interesting thing. You know, like the Alabama or England meme. Like,
Yeah.
you know, some parts of England are Jacksonville. That's, you know, we have a lot more in common that way.
But I would love to send somebody from London to Jacksonville. Just tell them they're going to Florida because they think it's like Miami Vice.
Miami Vice or Disney World, which Jacksonville is neither.
Yes, and I know this because I used to think this. And everybody who's not from Florida has thought this at one point in time. And then you wind up going to some Florida that is not Orlando and that is not Miami. And you realize I'm in Georgia.
Correct. You're in very South Georgia.
Yes, Georgia. Right. And let me tell you, you cross that line from South Florida to South Georgia to North Florida, or as my brother says, South Georgia, North Florida. What's the difference? Great question. I do not have an answer for. And you could cross that line, and if you don't see it, you won't know until you see a El Cheapo gas. And that lets you know that you have made it to Florida. That El Cheapo be there. But anyway, shout out to you. Actually, I don't know who exactly I should send a shout out to. I don't know if the shout out goes to the Denver Broncos or if the shout out goes to the New York Giants. But together, you guys strong-armed your way onto the top of this program with an inexplicable fourth quarter, right? So I was in here, I was watching the Cowboys and the Commandos play, and I'm texting with Ryan about how it's actually kind of surprising how little we've talked about the Cowboys this year, right? Like they traded Micah Parsons and then CeeDee Lamb got hurt, and the Cowboys felt like they had become irrelevant in a way that seems impossible for being the Cowboys. Aside, and the one game that we really paid attention to them playing, it was a tie. Now, of course, you know, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, that's how they was getting into it. But hey, man, don't tell nobody, but I might be falling for what they got going. You know what I'm saying? Like they was Dak Prescott looking good. But anyway, I'm watching that game. I'm like, cool, I'm going to figure out how it is. I'm going to turn that into the show, right? Like, it's kind of like, I don't know what trick your mama uses to, like, when the Kool-Aid ain't got enough oomph to, like, bring it a little bit farther, put a little orange juice in it or whatever. But, you know, when you gotta prop that dope up a little bit, right? Okay, cool. So I had checked the score on the Giants and the Broncos, and the Giants was tapping that ass. And I turned it on the computer, and I see it. And the Giants are doing that. And I'm going to be honest with you, the Giants achieving success under the current set of conditions has the potential to be very, very, very annoying. And you know why it has potential to get very, very, very annoying. Because out of nowhere, they went from having a black quarterback, and Scatterbo ain't started all year, has he? Because I feel like he just became the starter later. But anyway, I can't explain to you. And honestly, I can't explain it to you. Because I was going to say I can't explain to you how excited white people in New York are about having Joe Theismann and John Riggins, right? Having themselves a little dynamic duo. You know what I'm saying? A little third base situation, right? Two Beastie Boys. They gonna fuck around and get one of them McConkey or the McCaffreys. That's the one I'm thinking about. They gonna get one of those, and they gonna be like, boom, you know. I suddenly forgot the words to Paul Revere. Anyway, it's getting tough to deal with. Like I gotta be honest with you. It's getting a little bit over the top. And they was beating the Broncos, right? And I was like, oh, wow, I guess this game's over. And I was texting Shannon about it. I was like, damn, because Shannon, the Giants fan, he been long suffering by the long as I known him. And I was like, damn, dog, you got you a white buddy cop movie over there. He sent me a funny GIF with Jonah Hill in it. Like we was just making jokes. Then I looked up, and it was like a one-score game. And I sent Shannon a text that said, wait, this game is close. And if he ever replies to that text, I will let you know, because as of right now, it hasn't happened. I'm just totally lost by all of this. I hadn't been paying like close attention to everything. So I mess around and I go look in the box score. And when I look at the box score, this is after the Broncos have taken the lead. I look in the box score, they've scored 30 points in the fourth quarter. I'm looking at the rest of the box score. Bo Nix is playing like cheeks. I don't understand how this was possible. Then the Giants get the ball back. Jackson Dart also looking like cheeks as he's trying to make it happen. I'm like, oh, baby, this is cool. Everything gonna be fine. Next thing I know, it's a pass that looked like it came up this short of the first down marker, but it don't even matter because then it was a roughing the passer penalty. The Giants go down there. They score a touchdown. They got a 2-point lead. Just got to kick the extra point. And I ain't even see that. I folded the computer shut because I was starving. I told Ryan what time we was going to record. And I'm like, hey, man, I got to go get this food. They let the Broncos run out the clock without me. By the time I get downstairs to eat my food, the Broncos have won because the Giants have missed the extra point. I ain't even watched the extra point. The Giants missed the extra point. Oh, and there was a pass interference penalty against my guy, Riley Moss. Put a pin in that point. I don't understand how any of this happened. I don't know how a team with Bo Nix as a quarterback is capable of scoring 33 points in a quarter. I don't see exactly how the Giants managed to lose that game. I don't understand any of it. But I have to ask you this, Ryan, because maybe you saw it. You live in New York. You might have seen it. Did Brian Daboll break anything? Like visibly?
Oh, yeah.
Like, did he explode?
Oh, yeah. He was. Yeah, you could see the raid. He's like a cartoon character where you see the smoke coming out of his ears.
Yes.
And,
yes.
And he's that level of bald where his face gets red.
Yes.
He's
holding on to his job every week, right?
And he has decided that the person that he's entrusted to keep his job is Jackson Dart.
Well, for what it's worth, I think Russell Wilson decided that the person that was going
Fair
to help
enough.
him keep his job was Jackson Dart. I finally saw that clip of him running into the blue tent trying to figure out if Jackson Dart was okay last week.
Yeah. Yeah. Could you be a little less concussed so I don't have to watch Russell Wilson play football anymore?
Hey, he's all right. He's all right. How many fingers will hold up? Cool, let's go. Right? I could not believe any of that happened. Now, there was a pass interference on Riley Moss. I just brought that up that happened. And look, I've been talking about this, and this is the truth, and it's a weird thing, right? In my experience, our Caucasian brothers and sisters don't necessarily know how to act when one of their own turns up in a place where they don't expect them to be. You understand what I'm saying? But in certain places when it happens, it's real, tangible excitement. So Jackson Dart, where he's supposed to be at quarterback, of course. Wearing that chain, that's not where that chain is supposed to be. But once again, our Caucasian brothers and sisters are a little bit weird. When the white man got on a chain, they feel like it look a little classy. It's kind of like when the Braves won that World Series and Jock Peterson had his big old chain, but it was pearls. Suddenly his was cooler than everybody else, right? You get it. It's kind of like Macklemore. Anyway, they like Jackson Dart, but then Scatterboo not supposed to be playing running back no more. I don't understand why our Caucasian brothers and sisters have not wrapped their arms around Will Shipley of the Philadelphia Eagles. But Scatterboo is their type. But the other reason, to be fair to Scatterboo, is he got a running back type of game that everybody likes. I was telling you about that last week. People like dope running backs. He's there, right? He ain't no John Riggins, but they gonna say he is. You feel me? That's going to go down, but whatever. They all real excited about him. But on the other side is our man, Riley Moss. And I find that when there is, generally speaking, a Caucasian brother playing cornerback, white people treat him like they treat white basketball players, which is to say, with startling levels of skepticism. You feel me? Like the self-hate seems to come out a little bit. The crab in a barrel phenomenon tend to come up. And that's how I felt when they called that pass interference on Riley Moss. I was like, come on, man, it's just profiling. I didn't think that was no penalty. Y'all just don't believe that man was capable of playing defense. That's all it is. That's all it is. You'll lie to yourself about Jackson Dart. You'll lie to yourself about Scatterboo. You got Riley Moss out here and you telling him that he got to be twice as good. How'd that work? Ain't nobody got no harder job in the NFL than Riley Moss does. On one side of him is probably the best corner in the league. And we always talk about that corner that gets picked on. Now imagine that corner that gets picked on is a white dude from Iowa. I don't even know if he's from Iowa, but he went to Iowa. And I feel like you got to be from Iowa to decide you're going to do that. Anyway, they just over there picking on that man. I'd be rooting for him, right? I don't know why it is that the homie Coop get a lot more attention than Riley Moss. Riley Moss, his OG. Riley Moss did it first. Don't nobody really talk about it. Only me and Dominique was the only ones that's out here. And you know why? Because we about freedom and equality. You know what I'm saying? Right? Y'all out here treating Scatterboo like a pioneer. They treating Riley Moss like he DEI. And not like DEI used to be. Like right now, you can go to jail for that shit. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm trying to figure out. By the way, for you watching on YouTube, I'm doing this in a hotel. Therefore, I got to keep the laptop to the left. So if it looks like I'm looking and I'm not paying attention, I'm locked in, baby. I'm just trying to give you the show as I ordinarily do it. We play the game a little bit different. But yeah, that game was wild. Never dawned on me that when I woke up this morning, I would spend 10 minutes talking about the New York Giants and the Denver Broncos. Never dawned on me. What we was thinking we was going to talk about is I felt like this Sunday was a raucous Sunday for starting quarterbacks, not to be confused with franchise quarterbacks. Think about this for a second. I feel like the two top candidates right now for MVP are Baker Mayfield and Dak Prescott. Two starting quarterbacks. Right, I don't know how much you saw that Dallas game, but Dak was dealing.
When he looks good, and he's had moments like this through the last 5 years where where he's throwing the ball over the field. And I forgot that CeeDee Lamb was back until he hit him for that giant touchdown.
That was the moment I realized it too. Like that's the best pass I've ever seen Dak throw on that square in.
Yeah. I mean,
and then he made them dudes run into each other.
I mean, he's big. He steps up in the pocket. I mean, and he's hitting CeeDee Lamb. He's throwing the ball all over the yard. I put these stats in for you, but I'll go ahead and read them. Last 4 games, 71%, completing 71% of his passes, over 1,000 yards, 14 touchdowns, no picks.
Amen. And that CeeDee Lamb George Pickens combination is in a similar weight class with the Jamar Chase T. Higgins. Because Pickens looks incredible.
I mean, Pickens certainly looks incredible, and he's your number 2.
Yes, but also let us not forget, we've not seen NFL George Pickens with a real live quarterback.
And all of a sudden he starts behaving. Who knew?
Like, I hate to use that word, right?
Yeah.
Except he does such childish things when he's not on the straight and narrow.
That word sounds like, even. When I say that word, I feel worse saying it coming from me, obviously.
Yes.
But
Producer Slim Shady needs to be careful in making the reference.
Those are the words. But I feel like there's about a list of 5 people I can get away with it. I think like George Pickens is one of them.
I think it's fair. But no, they look, if they can play the littlest bit of defense, because now the Cowboys fans are talking about this like, if they can get Max Crosby in trade, do you do it? Now, I will just make this point that if you made the Micah Parsons trade just so you could get Max Crosby, that's hustling backwards.
Yes.
That's not the way to do this. But they got to get some heat because the Make-A-Wish Foundation, if you don't get no pressure, it's just going to continue to be a charitable contribution.
Right.
But they can put some points up. By the way, this is 1 week removed from Rico Dowdle making his Hall of Fame case against them last week. They lost 30 to 3 or something ridiculous like that.
I think they lost a close game, but I think Rico Dowdle might have had 200 yards.
You're right.
It was a close game, but Rico Dowdle, someone who used to play for the Cowboys. It was the Rico Dowdle revenge game.
That's right. The Panthers did that to the Falcons because of
right.
But though it made it worse was Rico Dowdle told them to buckle up, and they still ran for like 200-something yards on them.
Exactly.
They were like, yes, we're buckling up to make your dreams come true. That's all they could do. But man, if they could play a little bit of defense, they are going to be something. Speaking of starting quarterbacks, every time we say to ourselves, this Indianapolis Colts thing, like, come on, what are we really talking about here? For whatever reason, the Chargers dressed up like mustard bottles and went out there and got their teeth kicked in. Now, I think that we are all in a place where we're still trying to figure out exactly how good the Cardinals are. I mean, not the Cardinals, the Chargers. How good the Chargers are, but we all generally believe that they were good, right? Or at least okay. They are 4-3, but I still feel like we largely believe that they're a pretty good team. Or like a team that I think is going to make the playoffs. There was no question who the better team was in this game. None. Like, is this real? Is this happening? Is this like, this is the thing. This is a wild situation to watch where, again, Daniel Jones, starting quarterback. How much money is he going to make next year? He's on a 14-year prove-it deal. How much money is it going to cost the Colts to keep him? Because they have to keep him, because what they can't do is go back to Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, I mean, it like you're gonna look at like what Sam Darnold got. You look Baker got a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, he comes out here. I mean, he's throwing for over 8.5 yards an attempt, and I think he put up a 113 rating in this game. Like he's making throws. It is not the dink and duck offense out there. I mean, Shane Steichen clearly has a way of getting things out of slightly limited quarterbacks.
But I'm going to warn you guys, okay? And I think that this is an important warning. And you tell me if I'm wrong here. Do you remember the 2015 season of Ryan Fitzpatrick with the Jets, the Fitzmagic season, where somebody broke Geno's face in training camp, and then Fitzpatrick got the job and then threw the season away with 5 or 6 interceptions in the last week of the year, and then he was the starter next year, and he wound up getting benched for Geno, who, in classic Geno Smith luck, went out there and tore his ACL in the game that was played right after. But the return to earth happened. I'll give you another example. I don't even know if you remember this one. In 2008, you remember when Vince Young went for that drive and didn't tell nobody and everybody freaked out?
Yep.
And he lost his job to Kerry Collins, and I want to say they went 13-3 that year. They walked. And then the next year, Kerry Collins went back to being Kerry Collins, and they had to get that job back to Vince Young for a little while.
I mean, remember the last 2 weeks of Sam Darnold last year?
Yes.
Like, I mean, it was like Sam Darnold was playing for the 1 seed, and then plays the 2 worst games of the seasons back-to-back, and they have to ship him off for Seattle for a quarterback who played at maybe, a half a game, 2 games this year?
Right. Yeah. But I'm just saying, there is a world in which Anthony Richardson gets this job back from Daniel Jones. It ain't happening no time soon.
No.
Just to be clear. But there's a world where they wind up, put him back in. No. Just put him back in. Just put him back in. But no, that's kind of what we got. Oh, also, by the way, great game from Jalen Hurts this week. Like, all of us have talked a lot about how Brian Flores and he be confounding people. The Eagles made what I thought were a couple of dumb calls at the end. One was that second down where they're trying to ice the clock, and Flores called a 0 blitz, and so Hurts threw a bad pass because the heat was coming, and it stopped the clock with like 1:40 left. The Vikings had only used one of their timeouts. It looked like they were going to get the ball back. Flores did something not that bright and called another 0 blitz, and this time the Eagles were ready for it, and they threw it down the field and nailed it to ice that game. Like, Jalen Hurts got it done in that one. Both receivers had 100 yards. Everybody's going to be happy. A.J. Brown ain't reading books. You know what I'm saying? They got it done. I just got to make sure some of y'all think that I be hating. Man, I was doing some wedding activities, right? And so this wedding I was supposed to go to, it's a Sunday wedding, and I was not able to make it to Sunday because I had to do this podcast or whatever. So I'm kicking it at the wedding, this stuff. And this cat, he come up to me. He an Eagles fan. You know, this happens when I go to weddings, man. They know who you are. You know, they know you're a sports guy. So, they get their chance. So my man's talking to me, real cool cat, but he keep talking to me about the Eagles. And he's like, we're going to beat the Vikings. We're going to beat the Vikings. We're going to beat the Vikings. I'm like, all right, man, you're going to do that. My man going to play, all right, you're going to do that. That's okay. He's like, all right, I'll bet you $20 that the Eagles are going to win. He's like, and we gonna collect on it at the wedding. I said, cool, $20, dapped him up. Here's what he ain't realized. And I sent it to somebody to show it to him. I was the Magic Johnson meme about that wedding. I'm not going to be there. And I wasn't. The new world order of college football, because of transfer portal stuff, a bunch of other things. Anyway, you got to fire coaches a lot sooner than you used to. You used to be able to wait till the end of the season. Nah, you got to do that stuff in the middle of the year. To the point where even if you ain't been fired yet, we know what's going to happen. Billy Napier, thank you for your service. They went ahead and let him go on Monday after a win. By the way, that's a new thing that happens. They don't even necessarily wait until you do something indefensible.
Is that the reverse Kroom? If you beat Mississippi State and get fired?
Well, isn't that what happened to Jimbo? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Jimbo won a game against Mississippi State.
Still
and then they
fired.
were like, how'd you like $70 million? I'd love $70 million. And I get to leave College Station. I wish a motherfucker would offer me $70 million to leave College Station. That's the most.
I do a lot more for a lot less.
Oh my God, it's the greatest. I'd give you $70 million to leave College Station. What are you talking about? So anyway, they fired Billy Napier. Florida State lost to, was it Stanford? They lost to Stanford. You know that man is getting fired. Like, time is up for him. All these jobs are open. UCLA is open. And by the way, I had made the point that maybe nepotism had gone well because they made Rick Neuheisel's son the offensive coordinator. The offense got together. I realized I never found out who the interim coach was. And everywhere I go, they keep showing the Neuheisel kid. And now I know why I didn't know who the interim coach was, because he's black. It'll turn this whole goddamn thing around. And now one person is like, boy, you might want to give that Tim Skipper guy a head job. Maybe it's because you didn't know his name was Tim Skipper. Because I didn't know his name was Tim Skipper. I saw the dude's last name was Skipper. I was like, damn, like my old boss? I don't think so, at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, what's going on here? But anyway, that job's going to be open. They're going to fire that coach at Wisconsin, I'm certain. At some point. Who else do we know is going to lose? Auburn is looking real dicey.
Hugh Freeze is going to lose his job. Bill Belichick's going to lose his job.
Yes.
Lincoln Riley might lose his job.
It's on the board.
Brian Kelly might lose his job.
Oh, yeah. I forgot you guys lost to Vanderbilt. And you watched the game. I did not. And I was in New Orleans, and I did not watch the game because I didn't want to be around any invested parties. At worst case scenario went down. You made the right call. You have told me they lost. Like this was not a fluke.
They lost. They were outclassed. That game could have easily been 3 scores.
Wow.
Yeah. It's bad.
Yeah. The Brian Kelly, like these moves, like what happened with James Franklin, it accelerates it for everybody else. Like the combination of James Franklin getting fired and Indiana still kicking people's teeth in. Like last year felt fluky. This year looked like they got a team.
And they just gave their coach $90 million.
Right. And that combination of two things has really, it makes for a really strange world where Penn State shows what it is that you do when you're serious about football, or when you just decide you don't like how this has been feeling for a while. Okay, cool. You go ahead and you make that move. Auburn is in the midst of a 4-game losing streak. This is Hugh Freeze's 3rd year. They've had a 4-game losing streak each season he's been there. And per the great researcher Spencer Hall, a 4-game losing streak the year before that too. Okay? You can't keep your job at Auburn with 3 straight losing seasons, which is what it looks like Hugh Freeze is going to have. Okay? You can't keep hitting the ball into the rough, hole after hole after hole, and think you're going to keep that job. That's not going to happen. They're going to get him out of there. Okay? So we're talking about really good jobs. And I still think that Florida largely counts as a really good job. Penn State is a really good job. Florida State, not quite as good, but in a similar class. Auburn, I contend, is a very good job. LSU, high ceiling, low floor kind of situation, but it's there. USC, if it comes open, that one can be a really good job. I don't think Penn State is actually open. I think Matt Rule is almost guaranteed to get the Penn State job, but then Nebraska comes open, which is a weird job, and I'd hate to take that Nebraska job once Kurt Signetti showed proof of concept of what can be done at Indiana, which means at Nebraska, they are looking at you like, why can't we be Indiana? This is happening all over the board. This is what I want to bring up about that and like all of this. We talked, I guess it was last week, maybe the week before, about the report that the Big Ten was considering um, taking a infusion of cash from private equity. And you guys know how I feel about private equity. And I raised the question, which I think is always the right question, which is, what has private equity ever made better? All right. But I realized I was looking at this the wrong way. And I didn't realize I was looking at it the wrong way until I saw a tweet from Cody Campbell. And if you guys don't know who Cody Campbell is, he's a fairly interesting figure in modern college football. Cody Campbell, I believe, is the chairman of the board of trustees at Texas Tech. I think he was a Texas Tech football player. Don't quote me on that, but I think he was. Anyway, Cody Campbell is a billionaire. And if you have wondered why it is that Texas Tech seems to be better than they used to be, it's because Cody Campbell out here spending that money. All right. So anyway, Campbell sends this tweet and he says, basically, this private equity deal is terrible. I think he may have used the term payday loan, but if he didn't, other people have used the term payday loan. He's just saying that this is an infusion of cash that they need and that everybody needs this cash. But the big reason they need the cash is the day was always going to come where you were going to have to pay the players, not just this NIL farce that we have right now. Schools were going to have to reach into their own pockets to pay the players. That everybody knew this day was coming and they never really planned for it. And that is right in line with everything we know about college football. They knew that NIL someday was coming, all of this. And then when it was coming, everybody was in chaos. Nobody knows what to do, right? Because this reality has been staring them in the face for God knows how long, and they never got out there and they were never prepared to do anything about it. And so his thing is now, because you haven't prepared, now you're going to need a payday loan, right? Now what you going to do? It's a terrible deal and you shouldn't take it. That's his outlook. But it was the thought, what hadn't dawned on me was that I was looking at this when I talked about it 2 weeks ago, as though the Big Ten was being greedy. You're making all this money from CBS. You're making all this money in all these different ways. And you still want to take more cash. It's worth noting the two schools that seem to be pushing back the hardest on this payday loan are the ones that got the most money, Ohio State and Michigan. They're the ones that are like, this is a bad idea because the Big Ten wants to do this unanimously. They're like, nah, this isn't it. This isn't the move to make. But what I realized after reading what Campbell had to say and thinking about this a little bit more and why I brought up all this movement with the coaches before, it feels like mutually assured destruction is on the way. Now, I don't want to guarantee that that's what's happening, but it feels like it. And so this is the context I want to give, and just to kind of give everybody, something to think about. If you listen to the show, I am a pig in slop when it comes to talking about these things. You know this about me. Okay. What people have to remember is that college football programs are revenue or just college sports in general is probably a better way to put it. They are revenue maximizing operations, which is not to be confused with a profit maximizing organization, because a profit maximizing organization is trying to figure out how to keep these costs down. A really good college football program is looking for ways to spend money. Like when people talk about what are not even people, I'm going too far there. What I've been told makes Alabama a great job if you're somebody like Nick Saban is very simple. If Nick Saban says we need this because it's going to make football better, then that money's going to be spent and they're going to make the football better, right? Nick Saban comes in and is like, look, we need a $35,000 air conditioner in the weight room because the boys get hot. It'll be a $35,000 air conditioner in there. I mean, shit, let me stop lying. That's probably exactly what it costs. If that one at my house costs $15,000. You understand what I'm saying, though? You can come up with exorbitant numbers. And if Nick Saban could convince them, and I guess Kalen DeBoer now too, that it would make the football team better, it was going to be spent. That's the kind of arms race that this is, because there are no shareholders. There are no dividends to pay out. Get the money, spend the money, win. And if you're winning, you can't be known in the streets as a program that doesn't spend money to keep up with the winning. And so what has happened is all these different things have stacked up. And with these schools in the Big Ten, my guy Pat Forty at SI had written something about this. Like a big thing that's happened is all these stadium expansions, the long-term debt from that, those bills are coming due. All this money that people have kept spending because the game is to spend the money once you get it. Now all these bills are coming due, and now you got to pay the players, right? College athletic programs need to chill out on spending all that money. But they can only chill out on spending all that money if everybody decides to chill out on spending all that money. That's the only way, all right? Indiana just said they're willing to spend $11 million to pay a head coach. Indiana football. So what's Penn State got to pay their coach if they want to show they serious? Keeping in mind, they're going to have to pay some share of the $50 million to James Franklin. Right.
And to keep in mind that all of these jobs and all of these openings are represented by primarily two agents.
Jimmy Sexton.
And Trace Armstrong.
Oh, Trace. I forgot about my old buddy Trace.
Yes. So like, yes. You were not only like, if you think $11 million is not the ceiling, it's the floor.
Right.
For these new extensions.
Right. Look, Florida's going to have to cut Billy Napier $20 million, like a $10 million check, like very soon, and then another $10 million after that. And then, look, I don't know if they're going to hire Lane Kiffin, but that's the plan. Like that's the idea. That's certainly what's on top of their board.
I mean, Florida State's talking about, On3 reported today, they're going to, if they got rid of Norvell and his staff, it's $100 million.
And they don't really have any money. Like the whole thing with Florida State always is that they don't have any money. I'm sure they had to pay Willie money when they got Willie out of there to bring Norvell in, but it's all the spending, and then the impatience about keeping your coach. You got to realize this, and I think those of you who are young will not know it, Dave. There used to be a time where people could keep a job at a major university for 10 years and never have a winning record. Like, I mean, obviously you couldn't do that at Alabama, but you could do that at one of those mid to lower tier schools. Like there was a realistic understanding that, hey man, sometimes it's just going to be like that. We know who we are. Nobody's playing that game anymore. Therefore, nobody can slow down the spending. Nobody can stop it. It's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think that this actually becomes exacerbated by the playoff because there are more spaces for people to play for. Therefore, more benchmarks for people to reach. Therefore, more reasons for people to think that they should be better. It's one thing, like, I always talk about this. When Wake Forest won the ACC in 2006, I feel like half the coaches in the conference were fired within 2 years. Because once the smallest school in the conference can do it, then nobody else has any excuse. You see what I'm saying? But that's because Wake Forest went to the Orange Bowl. Indiana goes to the playoff last year as one of the 16 top schools. It doesn't matter that they got their teeth kicked in. It's like, well, how come we can't do that? You know, SMU gets to the playoff. Well, hey, man, how come we can't do that? It's more and more people saying that thing. And when they say that, they're like, well, we got to do more. And the way to do more is always spending a lot more money. That's always what it is. And now the conference that seems to be printing money, right? If I'm not mistaken, they got more out of their deal than the SEC got out of their deal with ABC, ESPN.
That is the one thing where I understand where these Cody Campbells and these private equity types are dealing with. The networks are taking these conferences for a ride in negotiations every year. Like they're getting we went through probably 20 years where the SEC on CBS was the biggest deal in broadcast TV, right. And we're probably going to have the exact same thing with the SEC on ABC this next 10 years.
Yeah, but they're all still making boatloads of money.
Correct. There's obviously still making money hand over fist.
Yeah, and it ain't enough. And by the way, I understand why it's not enough. Like once you get the systemic factors and put all that stuff together, I'm not judging them so much for the fact that it's not enough. I'm telling you it's never going to stop. But if it doesn't stop, this is going to fall apart. This is unsustainable, the rate at which all of these things are happening. It can only go up so much more, right? Not everybody's supposed to fire their coach every 3 years. Not everybody's supposed to have these sorts of expectations. Again, I don't know. Like, I was talking to an Uber driver today who was talking about like the pressure on parents for what you provide for your kids and allow them, that is created by Instagram, because now everybody can see what everybody else has, right? And cable streaming, everything else, whatever. But everything is so interconnected in a way that everybody sees what everybody else has. And that makes people more envious, and that makes people more jealous, and that makes people want, again, if Indiana can do it, why can't we? All this stuff gets ramped up. But I'm just telling you, just watch. Because if the Big Ten ever does eventually take that private equity deal, and I think they will, maybe not today, but another day they will. When they do, the clock is ticking on them, because private equity has never made anything better. And if the Big Ten can't figure out how to do this without borrowing money, what is anybody else going to do? I tell you what they're not going to do. They're not going to stop spending money. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money fast. Now here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats, from breakout rookies to elite QBs, and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code Bomani. That's code Bomani. Just play $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call. Ride the upside. In partnership with DraftKings Pick 6, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus award is non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
If you're a fan of this show, you've probably heard us talk about ZipRecruiter throughout the years. But one thing we haven't talked about is how ZipRecruiter is constantly coming up with new ways to make hiring faster and easier. So if you haven't tried ZipRecruiter lately, you're gonna want to check it out. And if you're new to ZipRecruiter, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. You can find out right away how many people in your area are qualified for your role. And with ZipRecruiter's new and improved resume database, you can unlock top candidates' contact info instantly. See how ZipRecruiter's new hiring innovations are changing the game. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/Bomani. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Shorter days don't have to be so dismal. It's time to reach out and check in with those you care about, and to remind ourselves that we're not alone. As seasons change and days grow darker sooner, it can be a tough time for many, especially as your athletic season gets busier. This November, BetterHelp is encouraging everyone to reach out, check in on friends, reconnect with loved ones, and remind the people in your life that you're there. Just as it can take a little courage to send that message or grab coffee with someone on your team you haven't seen in a while, reaching out for therapy can feel difficult too. But it's worth it. And it almost always leaves people wondering, why didn't I do that sooner? BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the U.S. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences. And our 12 plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means we typically get it right the first time. If you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time from our tailored recs. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is one of the world's largest online therapy platforms, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works, with an average of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This month, don't wait to reach out. Whether you're checking in on a friend or reaching out to a therapist yourself, BetterHelp makes it easier to take that first step. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/Bomani. That's betterhelp.com/Bomani. AG1 isn't just another supplement. It's a daily micro habit that supports whole body health in one scoop. It's clinically shown to support gut health and fill in common nutrient gaps. With 5 probiotic strains and 75 plus vitamins and minerals, AG1 Next Gen replaces the need for a multivitamin, probiotics, and more. AG1 Next Gen is helping to raise the standard with multiple gold standard clinical trials. In an industry where not everyone invests heavily in research, they go to great lengths to continually invest in rigorous, peer-reviewed clinical trials. AG1 replaces the need for a multivitamin, probiotics, and more. For less than $3 per day with a subscription, you are getting more than $7 worth of daily nutritional support. Head to drinkag1.com/Bomani to get a free welcome kit, including a bottle of vitamin D and free AG1 travel packs when you first subscribe. That's drinkag1.com/Bomani.
All right, Bo, a couple stories from the weekend. Over the weekend, Dodgers qualified for their second World Series in a row. Shohei Ohtani struck out 10, hit 3 home runs, sent Dodgers to the World Series. Bo, what was your thoughts?
Okay, so Friday night, I'm walking down Frenchman Street with my man Justin Tinsley, and he reads off what you just told me. And he was like, I'm a Barry Bonds guy like you're a Barry Bonds guy, but is this the best baseball player we've ever seen? Okay. I wake up the next morning. My good buddy Charlie Kravitz, who works on Dominique Foxworth's podcast, he sends me a text like, I think Ohtani has passed Bonds. That same afternoon, my man Clarence is like, I am not a baseball fan at all, but this has to be the best player there's ever been, right? So I'm giving you 3 levels of people. Kravitz, who played a lot, pretty high-level high school baseball, like he's a baseball guy. Tinsley, who I think is like me, a person who enjoys, is a baseball fan of sorts. And then a person who doesn't watch baseball at all had the same exact question. Is this the best baseball player we've ever seen? He's feeling like top 3, if nothing else. Shout out to my man Mike Sealski, though. Mike Sealski told us there was a dude named Rick Wise who in one game had a no-hitter, struck out 12 people, and had 2 home runs. And I'm like, I don't know if Rick Wise is still alive, but I know if I was Rick Wise till the day I died, you would have heard about that shit. I can't believe that's the first time I ever heard that, because Rick Wise should be everywhere. That's Al Bundy right there.
When you say 3, obviously Ohtani, Bonds, who's the third?
Oh, the best baseball player ever to play baseball is Babe Ruth. Like, it seems like a cliche thing to say, but just remember, Babe Ruth finished with 714 home runs. He set the career home run record, I believe, at 190 or something like that.
No, Babe, like we kind of yada it because it was 100 years ago, but Babe Ruth was Paul Bunyan.
You also have to remember that back then, not all the baseballs was round. Right. Like, every baseball was a box of chocolates. Like, there wasn't the technology. There wasn't all of this stuff, right? Just everybody always says, what if Babe Ruth had to play against black players? And all the white dudes who played against Babe Ruth were glad they didn't, because the one they did have to play against was enough.
All right. So Anthony Edwards held his first ever annual award show. And every word of this is hysterical. And he gave out the White Boy of the Year award. The winner was Timothy Chalamet. Chalamet beat out Tom Cruise, Adam Sandler, Pat McAfee, and Mr. Beast. Chalamet accepted this award via, a video call, had a lot to say. He said, got to shout out all my white boys that laid the path before me. Timberlake, Justin Bieber, Jason Williams, Ed Sheeran. Later, Chalamet posted a further acceptance speech, which read, and quote, you can get lost in the sauce, but without sauce, you are lost. That being said, I promise to cherish this award and do good, inspiring generations of white boys to come and to be entirely delusional about their identity and place within the world.
First of all, only one person can get away with this, and this is Anthony Edwards. Number
Correct.
2, shout out to my man John Kroenski, who covers the Timberwolves for The Athletic, who was nominated for Reporter of the Year. Because this was a whole thing.
Yes.
He had a wide range of categories. He had Reporter of the Year, and Krawinski said that he was glad to be nominated for Reporter of the Year. He may have won, I'm not sure. But he said that next year he really wants to get on the list for White Boy of the Year.
That's a tough list.
It was a tough list.
Yeah.
It was a really tough list. Did you see he had Hater of the Year? And if you could find the clip where he is running through all the nominees for Hater of the Year, that even had on the list, and I quote, Magic motherfucking Johnson. I don't know what Magic Johnson did to Anthony. Oh, I think it was you ain't won no championships. I think that was what it was. But he ran. I can't believe this was real life. They only made one Anthony Edwards. And I don't know if I'm upset that there aren't more, or I'm just glad that we get to experience the one that we have.
I mean, honestly, it looked like a Chappelle Show skit.
It did, but it was real.
It was real. It's him. It's all of his friends. Their video. They got Timothy Chalamet called in from like Hungary or Bulgaria, where he's shooting this movie. They got a child star from the '90s who isn't an actress anymore, like because
he loves Matilda.
He loves Matilda, so they got Matilda. This was a very shockingly well produced award show.
Whose idea was this? Clearly this was Adidas' idea, because Shoe of the Year, all the nominations were the AE.
Correct. I don't know if it was idea, but it was clearly he was the creative force.
Yeah.
Every creative decision was, I don't know if he spearheaded it, but every decision from there was made by Anthony Edwards.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, buddy.
Speaking of NBA greats, Kevin Durant had a clip in the new Netflix series Starting Five talking about why he responds to Twitter trolls. He said, quote, "That's my coffee in the morning. People who have never picked up a basketball, never ran full speed in their life, and they tell you how to approach the game. You can't even make your high school team. Shut your ass up."
I am amazed that he hasn't gotten tired of it.
No.
Please understand who is saying this.
Yes.
I am saying this. I used to have a Twitter account entitled Hater Galaga, which only served the purpose of searching for my name and destroying people who had bad things to say. I am that person. I shut Hater Galaga down 12 years ago. He's still doing this.
He is committed to the bit.
Wow. Yeah, it is amazing. That's all.
Sometimes growth and change is important. And sometimes, might as well keep doing what you're good at.
Can I give you one last great quote from Starting Five? Me and my man Rod talk about this because we love our guy Joe Mazzulla. And Joe Mazzulla had a quote in Starting Five about who would win a fight between him and Jaylen Brown. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Yes. He says, and I quote, "If I'm going to taste death, you're coming with me." And that's how I know Joe Mazzulla has children. That's your dad's lot. That's why we have when's the last time you fought your pops?
Yeah.
That's why we are trying to fight your pops, because it's that line right there. And I believe he means every word.
I promise you, I don't think Joe Mazzulla has a lot of time for playing with Jaylen Brown or his kids.
No. God, I love him. I
know. He's so weird, but I love him so much.
Yo, between him and Fran Brown, the head coach at Syracuse, it's like, okay, hashtag Black weirdos. We don't really get a lot of room to be like just flat out weirdos.
Eccentrics.
But that's exactly it. They are both eccentrics.
All right, a little bit of a global news here. There was a heist at the Louvre Sunday morning. In just 7 minutes, thieves grabbed priceless jewels from the Louvre using a portable electric ladder to break into the second floor. They are still at large. Bo, what were your thoughts when you heard this? 2
questions. Number 1, how did you pull this lift up without anybody noticing? Like, do you have to? I am that part floors me, right?
Right.
Number 2, now that you got the stuff, now what? Right? Like, I'm assuming these guys are not stupid criminals. So, I mean, they cleaned out the Louvre in 7 minutes. But it reminds me that I went to high school with somebody. At least this was the story. My high school debate captain did a summer in jail. because he stole a cop car. And if I'm not mistaken, the way he got caught was he tried to pawn the guns. Right? Hadn't really done the math on
Yeah.
police issue guns, all that. You can't go take any of this stuff just to your local pawn shop.
I mean, you
Like,
can't pawn a Rolex.
right.
Much
Like,
less.
what do you give me? What do you give me for these crowd jewels?
Yeah, these have been sitting in the loop for the last 300 years. What's
I got them for my birthday. But did you see that they rolled out of there and like some tiara with like thousands of diamonds and pearls just like fell out of the bag?
Yeah. It was, I have to admit, I wouldn't say I'm pro this sort of crime. I am very pro people who can get away with it. Like, people eluding the cops is pretty cool. It's pretty.
I will say, a friend of mine sent it to me, and she was like, "This is so dope." And I was like, "Wow, that's an interesting term to use." But once you start putting it in these terms, I'm like, "Oh, I see what you're saying." I will also make this point. As a Texan, I saw another story that in Virginia, some people pulled up to these folks' house with like Halloween masks and told them to come outside, like this threatening, and they said the people are still at large or whatever it is. And this crime with the Louvre and that one right there, my Texas brain can't understand it because guns, right? Like, because the plan
My
in
part of
France
Louisiana's
is,
like that too.
yeah. Like, I-10, baby. I-10
Yeah.
is in the house. So the thing in France is that their plan, if you're getting robbed, is just you can have the stuff, right? Just as long as we all make it out of here. That thing that people ran in Virginia, you're not doing that at nobody's house in Texas because you're going to have buckshot in your chest. Like, I am floored that you can take that much stuff. And I don't care if it took them 7 minutes or not. Somebody would have been waiting there to blow your ass away if you had tried this at the Houston Museum of Art. Bet that.
All right, Bo. Voicemail line's open. A lot of great ones. Here's our first.
Hey, Bo, this is Darius calling from Georgia. Man, I had a question for you. So I know Rasheed Wallace played in the NBA all those years, and Terrell Owens played in the NFL all those years. I'm a little younger, but I just remember people really didn't like Terrell Owens because of his off-the-field antics. But people love Rasheed Wallace despite his on-the-field antics. So my question is, how come she, who used to come unglued on the court and sometimes couldn't finish game because of all those technical fouls, he was so loved, whereas T.O.'s shenanigans happened on the sideline and not on the field and didn't cause his teams in the game? I just don't understand how she was loved and he would lose it in the game when, like, he knows the team would need him, whereas T.O. was just losing on the sideline. I just never understood why one is hated, one is loved. Thanks, man.
I got to be honest with you, Darius. The only explanation I got for you is Sheed is Sheed and T.O. is T.O.
You can maybe do football and basketball is a little different, but that's the crux of it.
Some people can get away with some things. Some people can't get away. For example, why don't you go wear that stuff that Cam Newton be wearing and go outside and see if you can pull a bad one? Oh, but you can't. What's the difference between me and Cam Newton? There you go. You just said it right there. That's all it is. Sheed is really endearing though. It has always been that way. But it's those of us who love Sheed. We started loving Sheed when he first got into school. Also, Sheed got ejected from his first preseason game for fighting. Like, it's all over the place with Sheed. Also, the T.O. thing, and I'm glad you pointed out that you were younger because he did cost his team some games. Like, he got suspended that whole year with the Eagles, for example.
But he also almost won a Super Bowl by himself on one leg.
He did. Right. Let's not leave that out. But the bottom line is people like Sheed in ways that they don't like T.O. Now, to be clear, there are a lot of people who really like T.O. The issue with T.O. is not that everybody doesn't like T.O. Because if everybody didn't like T.O., he'd be easier to deal with. Problem is a lot of people love T.O. And then the other people really don't like T.O. Right? But yeah, no, it's just the answer to your question is that life ain't fair.
It'd be like that sometimes.
Yep.
All right, here's our next one.
Hey, Bomani. My name's Robbie. I'm calling you from the kind of Buffalo area. Longtime fan from back in your Around the Horn days, and glad to be listening to your pod more frequently. I was really sad about the passing of D'Angelo, so I was curious to hear a little bit from you, about D'Angelo, any fandom you may have. D'Angelo is an artist who really actually got me into Prince in a sort of retroactive way. And from interviews that I've listened to, kind of positioned himself in the lineage of, Prince, Sly, James Brown, kind of working it back that way. So curious what you think about D'Angelo within that lineage, and curious if you could speak to, any artists, maybe more contemporary artists who you think may be continuing in that maybe lineage of music and culture. So thanks, Bomani. Thanks for the reflection. Thanks for the show. Appreciate you.
All right, no problem, man. I don't really have like the current artists to point to, and we got a video also up on YouTube that you can check out where we talked about D'Angelo right after he passed. In fact, I was listening to Brown Sugar a little bit today before we jumped on, and I've thought more and more about it, and I'm still struck by the effect that he had on other great musicians. Right? Like, it's one thing for those, like, I think I underestimate how, like, kind of almost, I don't know if revolutionary is the right way to put it, but when he hit in 95, nothing really sounded like that. Like, you could go listen to the Tony Sons of Soul album, I think, and kind of start walking your way into this general direction, but nothing sounded like Brown Sugar. And the part that I didn't give enough credit to until I was talking to my man Dewan about this is, I told the story about like the ASR-10 story where Pimp C found out that D'Angelo recorded Brown Sugar on the ASR-10, which Pimp C had also used, and he was just like, I don't know nothing about using this machine if he did his album on that, right? I need to go look at the book, right? But the thing about the ASR-10 that made it interesting is that D'Angelo was in there programming drums like he was making rap tracks. Like when you go listen to it, that is it's a continuation of that Mary J. Blige album. It's like, oh no, you are pounding out these drums, and somebody could really rap over a lot of these beats. Like you're really doing that. Then with a really sophisticated kind of style of playing keys, but nothing is ever super showy in the instrumentals and all of this stuff. And it just gets back again to kind of what we talked about in the last question. He's that guy. And it just shown in him being that guy in every song and everything that he did felt so natural and easy. And I think that's the part that gets me. People miss the mark all the time on songs. Even songs that aren't necessarily my favorite from him, because, D'Angelo got, hey, speak up, can't understand you, right? It still all just felt like it just came out of him so purely when it did. And I think the more I think about it, that's the most irreplaceable quality with him. Like even Prince got a whole lot of stuff that kind of missed the mark, right? D'Angelo, maybe there's this super quality control of only putting out 3 albums in 30 years, but it never felt like he missed a mark, even if it wasn't your favorite.
All right, Bo, here's our last one.
Hey, Bomani, it's your boy JT in Las Vegas. Just wanted to ask, I've heard you say a bunch of times that B.O.B. by Outkast is the greatest single and greatest song of the 21st century. And I was just wondering if you could kind of touch on what it is that makes that song so incredible and just the best thing ever. Because that song knocks, but like, what is it that makes it the best? Love the show, man. Bye.
All right, appreciate it. So I'll walk you through this, right? So the summer of 2000, which was, those of you who know me, a very difficult time in my life. My best friend in college died in April of that year. I'm 19 years old when this happens. This is my junior year. I go to his funeral. I come back to the dorm, and I expected to finish out the semester. No, packed up my stuff. I went to my parents' house, right? I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. That's when I started doing all the writing and media stuff because I needed something to keep myself sane. So anyway, that summer, somebody tells me it's this new Outkast song. You got to check it out. And I say, okay, cool. So my dad was not home that summer for the most part. He was working some job in D.C., so I had the house to myself. And this was the summer that Napster appeared, but we ain't had no high-speed internet. And I would go on dial-up and just try to like download songs, right? And it could take forever. And so I found out about this Outkast song, and I feel like it took me a whole day to download it. And I remember the first time I listened to it, I'd never heard anything that sounded like it. And I spent 3 whole days listening to it. In the first 2 days, I'm still not getting it. And the third day, everything registered. And it was like, oh, this is mind-blowing. And so what it is for me that makes that song so incredible is that it comes out in the year 2000. So at this point, we're really working with, I guess, a little bit short of 30 years, but, for most people's consciousness, 20 years of rap music, right? And it felt like every style of rap, every movement of rap that had emerged up until that point was included in that song, while also considering a point that Chuck D made in a book that I read once that I thought was interesting about rap, where he's like, the thing about rap is that rap is music that is made from music. So then we're borrowing from so many other things. You're borrowing from rock, you're borrowing from gospel, and not like, oh, it's a sprinkle here, it's a sprinkle there. It's all right there explicitly in your face. And it just felt like this big jumble of everything together that somehow managed to be like full on cohesive, right? The energy is unstoppable in it. It's whatever you want a rap song to be, B.O.B. in some part is going to be that at every single term. It's the greatest group in the history of rap, showing you every single thing that they could do, and a song that literally nobody else could have done, right? So for me, if you ask anybody, what is it that they love about hip hop? People who truly love it, what is it that you love about hip hop? Get what their answer is. And no matter what that answer is, I guarantee you will find a piece of that in B.O.B. Jermaine Dupri makes the point about Atlanta rap that every song from Atlanta got a little Planet Rock in it. He's like, that is the foundational building block. And when you know that, it explains a lot about like how Atlanta rap goes. Atlanta is a hip hop city in a way that not all cities in the South are. New Orleans is a hip hop city in the way that not all cities in the South are. Houston, for example, Houston, a rap city. It found its way there, but I don't find that hip hop is like, it ain't in the bones of the place and in the people of the time in the same way, right? It just don't feel that way to me. But Atlanta is. And so when you hear me say that, you hear that foundational piece of Planet Rock, like really in the beginning, you hear that. And then it broadens out into everything else that ever seemed possible at the time. And it's 25 years later. You still ain't caught up to it. We still ain't. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this here 3 times a week. Ryan Brumley handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars, I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. And we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.